Hey there, y'all, and welcome to Southern Slapshot, the podcast where we're slapping pucks and sipping tea, one game at a time. I'm your host, Nick Scorsum, bringing you all the hits, chirps, and chaos from the SPHL, with a special eye on our rowdy crew down here in Macon, the one and only Mayhem. So whether you're tailgating in the parking lot or throwing hats on the ice, grab a seat, settle in, because this here is hockey, the Southern way. Episode 1, A Trip to the Beach. All right, guys. So Macon had just a single game this weekend. Same story for the rest of the SPHL. And it was a 6-hour trip down to the beach to take on a brand new look Pensacola Ice Flyers squad. Get it out of the way. Pensacola Bay Center was amazing, right? They got new lights, new boards, new glass, even a whole new ice system that, from their interviews down there, is pretty close to NHL level. Love seeing those upgrades. Love seeing the fan support that Pensacola has. Let's get into the game. The first period was all about feeling things out. Both teams trading shots back and forth, testing the waters, just trying to get a read on the new line combos. About 13 minutes in, Pensacola finally broke through. Matt Wiesner let one rip from the slot that beat Birkin clean, and the Ice Flyers jumped out to the 1-0 lead. Second period, though, that's when Macon started buzzing. A bunch of solid chances. DiMatteo just kept standing on his head for Pensacola. The best look came from Alex Cohen, and I swear from our angle, right there on that far glass, the puck looked like it went in. Refs waved it off, and chaos broke out in front of the net. Boys were just digging and jamming away and just couldn't quite punch it through. Even if we had a replay system that the SPHL could use, I don't know if that goal would have actually counted. Then, in the third, the second line, which, by the way, was absolutely flying all night, finally cashed in. Ibarra chased down a dump and chase and just threw one toward the net, and somehow that puck squeaked through DiMatteo to tie it up at 1. Overtime was pretty intense, back and forth action, but a late slashing call on Goldowski put Macon shorthanded with about 25 seconds left. Penalty kill held strong and forced the shootout. Both goalies put on a clinic through the first 5 shooters. Unfortunately, Goldie couldn't take a turn in the shootout because of that overtime penalty. And finally, in round 6, Pensacola's Jurosic, I'm probably butchering his name, found the back of the net to end it. It was a tough way to lose, but honestly, a lot of positives to take away from that one. The compete level was there. The second line looked amazing. And for a team still finding its rhythm early in the season, I am very happy with that showing. Overall, this was a very different looking Macon team compared to what we saw last season. Penalty kill stayed solid. 5 for 5 on the night didn't give Pensacola a thing. What really stood out to me, though, was the pace. The boys slowed the game down when they needed to, holding the puck behind the net, letting lines reset, and setting up real breakouts instead of that dump and chase that we saw so often last year. You could tell that there was a plan for the whole team this time around. Defensively, the group looked tight, stayed in position, limited big breakdowns, and on the offensive side, generated 34 shots on goal, 16 of those coming in that third period, but that's the kind of push you want to see late in a game. If that first line can start finding the back of the net, the second line keeps bringing that gritty, hard-nosed energy we saw in Pensacola, and the defense just keeps doing their thing, then watch out. The Mayhem could easily surprise a lot of people this season and outperform some of those early expectations that a lot of fans around the league have. So my 3 stars of the game. First star is going to Bailey Birkin. Bailey was an absolute wall in the net. 31 saves and just the single goal against. He kept the boys in it all night long and came up with huge stops when things got dicey. The goal in the first was just a real good play by Pensacola. The pass from behind the net to Wiesner, who came in late on that offensive push and ripped one after Birkin when Birkin had read the setup and called him out. What stood out to me about Birkin, though, was his composure. Last year, we saw a few games where an early goal might have thrown him off, but not this time. He stayed locked in and looked every bit like a true 1A goalie for the Mayhem. Second star is going to Mateo Ibarra. Ibarra had himself a game. 1 goal on 3 shots and led the second line with energy all night long. That line was relentless, scrappy, fast, and just tough to play against. Ibarra was doing all the little things right, winning puck battles, forcing turnovers, and creating chances. You could tell he put in the work this offseason, and if that line keeps up that same pace, they're going to be a ton of fun to watch this year. My third star goes to Connor May. Now, this one is tough. Right after the game, I had B. Pereira slotted in for this spot. Played strong defensively, had 4 shots, really anchored that back end against his former team in Pensacola. But after rewatching the game this week, I gotta give it to Connor May. This kid was awesome on that third line. 3 shots, smart play, and not afraid to mix it up. The scrap with Jurasik in the third period, I absolutely loved it. He stood his ground and showed he's not going to take any rookie treatment in this league. Stick taps to May, officially 1-0 to start his SPHL fighting career. For those of you who caught that season ticket holder scrimmage during preseason, you already saw he's got that edge, and he brought it again this weekend. Let's talk about the big moment in the second period. Krapinski's hit at 13:58 laid a massive check on former Mayhem defenseman Amadeo Mastrangeli, and it was a huge collision. But because of the height difference and Mastrangeli skating low, Krapinski's shoulder just ended up catching him up high right in the head. And the refs, rightfully so, called the penalty and reviewed it and gave it a match penalty for a legal check to the head. That's a tough break. Krapinski was tossed from the game, and thankfully, the SPHL decided not to hand down any extra suspension after reviewing it. The thing about a match penalty is it means the ref believed there was an intent to injure after seeing the replay. And honestly, from my view, looking back at it, it didn't look dirty. Mastrangeli was skating low, and the height gap just made what could have been a clean, hard hit turn into something that looked a lot worse than it was. I'm just glad that Mastrangeli's okay, and Krapinski's not going to have to sit out any more games. That said, don't be surprised if there's a little unfinished business when Macon heads back to Pensacola on November 1st. I fully expect Krapinski to have to answer the bell for that one. That's just how it goes in this league. The result might not have been exactly what we as fans were hoping for, but make no mistake, this is a very different Mayhem team than what we saw last season. There's structure, there's discipline, and there's desire to compete. And hey, let's not forget, this Pensacola team just took Huntsville to overtime in the preseason matchup. Both teams showed up ready to play, and for Macon, this could absolutely be the start of something solid. Now looking forward, we've got a busy weekend coming up. Macon's got a home and away set against our fellow Deep South rivals. Friday night, the boys hit the road and head over to Birmingham looking to snag 2 big points. And then are going to turn right around and be in Macon for our home opener on Saturday night against Huntsville. Interestingly enough, Pensacola's got a very similar setup. Friday night, they're going to head up to Huntsville, and then they're going to go back and host Birmingham back at the Bay Center on Saturday. So we're going to get a real good look at how these 4 Southern squads are going to stack up early this season. All right, let's take a quick spin around the rest of the league. Huntsville made the trip up to Roanoke and came out on top 4-2. Honestly, they looked exactly like the Huntsville team we've come to expect. Structured, skilled, and tough to crack. They stay healthy, no reason that they shouldn't be at the top of the standings at the end of this season. Roanoke, on the other hand, played their game, that physical grind you down style that they signed the roster for. But the problem is, Huntsville just does it better. The 2 teams combined for an insane 92 penalty minutes, and things definitely got out of hand. 4 different game misconducts for continuing altercations. Yeah, you can say it was heated. Now, I'll be honest, I was expecting a few more suspensions or fines to come out of that mess. The league handed down Bryce Martin from Roanoke just a 2-game suspension for what they called an unpenalized slashing incident. If you saw the replay, it looked more like a two-handed baseball swing to the back of Cole Regginato. Pretty weak response from the league on that one. And Martin's got a history too. Remember, he was the same guy who picked up that slashing penalty and a misconduct at the end of Roanoke's Round 1 playoff series against Knoxville last year. So he's lucky, and he gets to sit out Roanoke's first 2 games against Knoxville and not have to answer the bell from last year. As for Reggie, he got off with just a fine for the double minor call earlier in the game, basically a little slap on the wrist. Reigning champs Evansville hit the road and went down to Birmingham, pulled out a 3-2 win in the shootout. Honestly, neither team really showed too much in this one, and it felt like a bit of a feeling out game early in the season. Both squads look like they'll probably land somewhere in the middle of the pack range once things settle in. And hey, friend of the show, Derek Contessa, grabbed an assist in that one. Always good to see him on the score sheet. Fayetteville started the home season off with a bang, edging Knoxville 2-1. Knoxville didn't look anything like the team that scorched the net for 8 goals in preseason, and they just managed 21 shots on net. Once again, last year's goaltender of the year, former Riverman, now with Fayetteville, Colby Muse, showed why he earned that honor, standing tall and giving his team a rock-solid start to the 25-26 campaign. Over in the battle in the north, Peoria came out swinging, blasting Quad City Storm 5-1. It was neck and neck through 2 periods, Peoria holding that 2-1 lead. But then the third period exploded. 3 goals on just 8 shots, including an empty netter, blew the game wide open. And a huge shout out to former Mayhem player Michael McChesney, who scored his first goal of the season and showed why he earned a spot in the leadership group for a team that should be fighting for the regular season championship spot. Week 1 standings don't always tell the full story, especially when most teams have just a single game under their belt. But hopefully, after this upcoming weekend, we'll start to see some of the power rankings take shape, as all of us are kind of going back and forth and figuring out who is who in the zoo, if you will. And your SPHL Player of the Week, that honor goes to Rico DiMatteo from the Ice Flyers. 33 saves and a win in your very first professional game. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that'll earn you the spotlight. Absolutely stellar debut, and if he stays with Pensacola this year, they've got a good shot. Look, there's just one thing that really sets this team, and honestly the whole league, apart from the rest of the hockey world, and that's the fan interaction. It's just different here. A bunch of Mayhem fans made the trip down to Pensacola, and you could feel the support in the building. The energy from the crowd was awesome, and Finn, our little super fan, was right there in the mix, giving the boys fist bumps as they came out of the tunnel throughout the game. We might even have a new favorite player now that Uncle Dan decided to retire, because Della Savita stopped to rub Finn's belly for a little good look every time before he hit the ice. Moments like that are what make SPHL hockey so special. The connection between the players, the fans, and the community. You just don't see that kind of thing anywhere else. It's moments like this that made me fall in love with the sport. The goals, the hits, the fights, and the chirps are all awesome. But the passion that the players have for the game and for the fans is absolutely unbelievable. All right, folks, that's going to do it for this week's Southern Slapshot. If you laughed, learned something, or just spilled your tea in my mid-rant and my breakdown, you're in the right place. Don't forget to follow the show, leave a comment, leave a review, and share it with your crew at the rink or the cookout. If you see us at the game, feel free to stop by and talk to us. I'm always willing to say something. Until next time, keep your edges sharp, your chirp sharper, and remember, around here, we're always slapping pucks and sipping tea. Thank you.